The city lights glowed like embers beneath a storm-dark sky. Rain drizzled across neon signage and slick streets, turning the urban jungle into a labyrinth of reflections. At the edge of the forest, ancient pines reached like silent sentinels, their shadows yawning across cracked pavement. It was in this liminal space, the seam between concrete and wild, that Mira Blackthorn teetered between life and death. Exhausted and bleeding, she collapsed at the forest's threshold. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she pressed a trembling hand to a deep wound. Rain spattered her skin. The smell of damp earth and pine soothed a desperation inside her. Fierce, raw, alive. She'd escaped betrayal, endured exile. Cast out by her Alpha Covenant, she bore a mark in her palm, a scorched sigil, raw with pain and magic. Her heart pounded with grief. "I'm done running," she rasped into the dark. Then came a rustle. A figure emerged from trees and flickering light. Elias, an ancient heel beta of the forest pack. Tall, wild-haired, eyes sharp as dawn, he knelt beside her. Rain slowed, as if bowing to his presence. "What broke you?" he asked softly. Her voice wavered. "Everything." She collapsed, leaning against his sturdy frame. He lifted her carefully, strength gentle beneath her exhaustion. His wolf scent, earth, rain, something deeply familiar, calmed the thunder in her chest. He carried her deeper into the woods, through fog-lit paths lined with moss and glowing fungi. There, by a hidden pool, Elias laid her on soft moss woven with petals. Above, moonlight filtered through branches, pale and forgiving. He tore strips from his cloak, binding her wound with careful precision. His fingers brushed hers, and something inside her flickered. Longing, fear, memory. She recoiled, guilt flaring. "You shouldn't. I'm cursed." He stared into her smoky eyes. "Your blood is strong." His tone held no pity, just respect, something far more thrilling and dangerous. The silence grew charged. She shivered as her half-Luna nature responded to his closeness. "Why help me?" she whispered, voice soft as moss. He breathed in slowly. "Because I've hunted for a cure, found traces in your bloodline." His gaze softened, then sharpened. "And because in your presence, I feel something I haven't dared to feel in decades." She flinched beneath the weight of unspoken meaning, loss, desperate. He guided her to the glistening pool. She knelt, stared into her reflection. Pale face, dark hair drenched, silver gold flecks in her iris that hadn't been there before. "What is this?" she whispered. He knelt beside her in reflection. The beginning. As sun filtered through trees, warming dew on green leaves, she realized the world had shifted beneath her feet. Betrayal, exile, and trauma beneath her healing touch. Now, in that hidden glade, hope rippled through her veins. She stood strong. Against the storm, in Elias's steady eyes, something dangerous and beautiful was beginning. Lightning flickered through branches, illuminating the forest's skeletal silhouettes. Rain had turned to mist, wrapping the woods in eerie quiet. Mira's wound throbbed in rhythm with the storm's heartbeat, and every breath tasted of damp moss and elemental fear. Elias crouched at her side by the moonlit pool, his dark eyes reflecting ancient power and hidden regret. He scanned the sigil scorched into Mira's palm, fiery resentments etched deep. "This mark, it's tied to someone dangerous," he murmured, voice hushed. Her breath caught. Pain turned to anger, laced with raw vulnerability. "My former alpha. He did this, betrayed me, branded me cursed." Elias reacted with something deeper than horror, a flicker of something like sorrow. He was under influence, but that doesn't excuse betrayal. We'll hold him accountable. Their shared gaze crackled with sudden intimacy, a stolen moment of connection amid ruins and rain. Mira's pulse thundered as Elias extended a damp hand. Instinct rebelled, but something primal drew her in. They descended into the forest's shadowed depths. Tree roots writhed like serpents. Ancient fungi glowed in phosphorescent patterns beneath their boots. Elias's cloak, a shield against cold and terror, draped around Mira when the terrain turned treacherous. "How do I know this isn't another trap?" she whispered. He stopped beneath an overhanging branch, bark slick with rain. "Because I follow your scent now, not because I was ordered to," Elias said with quiet force. It felt like a truth born in the moon's fire. Their connection pulsed. Mira's hands trembled as she brushed away dripping water from her eyes. Her wild wolf stirred beneath her skin, recognizing something in Elias's scent. Something familiar, comforting, yet dangerous. The forest opened to an abandoned street. Cracked pavement shot through with vines and fallen pines. Neon signage glowed dimly in broken storefront windows. This was the boundary between wilderness and city. Lawless, liminal, sacred. Elias halted. In the distant turbulence, the man responsible for Mira's binding, Varys, a black market dealer, emerged into view, pulling cash from a sweaty pawnshop of arcane artifacts. Mira flinched at the sight. "That's him," she whispered. Elias's nostrils flared. "Stay with me," he said. They crept through quiet streets, betrayal and protection intertwining in every breath. Then from the darkness came a shot of magic. Varys turned, expression savage, and lunged. Dagger, crackling with dark energy, Elias intercepted with force, steel and power, warmth and shield. Mira gasped at how his presence grounded her world. Her wolf stirred in the crimson night, aching with the need to be bound. Varys hissed, pressing magic into the air. Mira raised her palm, scar smoking with latent power, and the ancient sigil flared. Energy snapped between her and Elias as she doubled over. But then the magical assault shattered around them. Elias knelt, voice thunder soft. "You have strength beyond your control." Vulnerability and demand collided in his tone. Pain spun, but there was tenderness too. Mira realized the question she never wanted to answer. Did she trust him? She didn't know, but she answered. "Yes," she whispered. In the aftermath, rain cooled the pavement, washing away stains. Varys lay unconscious. He would reveal more under questioning. But Mira's heart raced, not from fear, but from heat and power and the frightening possibility of what he'd stirred. Destiny. Elias offered his arm. She took it, uncertain, and felt the tremor of connection. Above them, storm clouds parted for a second. A sliver of moonlight touched their joined hands. They walked back toward forest edge, together now. Neither fully mate nor ally yet, but something alchemical had shifted The emotional gale had passed, but the greater storm loomed. In Mira's veins, latent power pulsed, power her father feared, power her ex-alpha branded. In Elias's chest echoed both duty and desire. The city's skyline awaited. Investigations, confrontations, politics, pack wounds unhealed, and a bond unsought but undeniable, an alliance forged in blood, starlike, and danger. Mist curled through ancient pines as Mira and Elias emerged from the city's shadowed streets into the wild edge forest. Dawn's pale light filtered through dripping branches, illuminating droplets on moss and leaves. Soft birdsong threaded the silence with promise. Mira's palm throbbed beneath Elias's cloak, daggers and dark magic behind her. Yet here, for a moment, she felt untethered. They reached a secluded glade, where dew-damp grass framed a cradle of mist. Here, Elias knelt beside her and traced the scorched sigil burned into her skin, the mark of a betrayal she'd survived. She saw fascination flicker in his gaze. "Your scent? It's Omega," he said softly. "You carry heat cycles. I feel strength in your scent." That recognition echoed across their boundaries. Elias's connection made human cells shiver. Mira withdrew, fear bristling. "I don't want to be needed for my body." He knelt before her again, eyes honest. In omegaverse bond system, scent and instinct matter. But choice matters more. "I choose you." The words vibrated with gravity. Their shared confession shattered something fragile. Elias guided her into the stone archway of ruins, old carvings pulsing like idle warnings, where ritual symbols wound across cracked floor. Here, magic still slept. Elias knelt and laid his palms flat on stone, summoning pale light. Mira mirrored him, placing her hand above his. Together, they traced new glyphs, searching for echoes of binding energy. A pulse rattled beneath their veins. Magic surged upward through Mira's fingers, pain and power interwoven. She gasped. Elias pressed closer, anchoring her. Their breath mingled. Rain pattered overhead. Then, without warning, the glyph burned bright. A severed tendril of binding magic fractured in a flash of white fire, revealing deeper chords leading back to her former alpha's territory. Mira staggered back. Her wolf snapped awake. Elias caught her. His face darkened. He planted more than betrayal. This is supernatural allegiance. Some key internal part of your bond was cursed. Fear and anger collided. Mira's tears fell. She breathed ragged, vision blurred. But beneath it all, the alien comfort of Elias's presence felt like home. Before tension could break, Elias closed the distance, pressed lips to brow, forehead to forehead. Power hummed between them, calming, sacred, reckless, intimate. When they finally pulled apart, Mira collected herself. "I'm stay broken." Elias lifted her chin and met her gaze. "Then I'll help you heal, by choice." His hand pressed against her side. His other secured her wrist. Right here. The forest exhaled around them as mist lifted. Vlad's binding crackled in the air. The emotional storm had passed, for now. But Mira felt something stronger take root. Trust, desire, and purpose aligned. She nodded. "Then let's find him and break his hold." Mist clung to ancient stones as Mira and Elias made their way deeper into the forest. Following the fractured magic, they had identified under the ruined archway. Dreamy tendrils of dawn light filtered through moss-draped branches, casting silvery patterns over ivy-twisted glyphs etched into ancient ruins. Standing before a vast stone floor inscribed with archaic runes, their breaths rose in harmony. The air pulsed with history, and Mira felt ancestral power stirring beneath her skin. Elias turned to her, calm and resolute. "Your Luna blood," he whispered. "Your power isn't just survival, it's legacy. The blood of your ancestors pulses through your veins." Her heart thundered with pain and pride. "I never wanted this, but I've already lost too much." Elias took her hand. His confidence steadied hers. "Let me guide you through it." Their connection sparked like lightning through the still forest air. The scent between them grew thicker, omega shimmer meeting alpha strength. Mira inhaled, heart wild with longing and dread. As Elias pressed his palm to the central glyph, Mira mirrored him. Pale light flickered across the stone, then flared. The glyph responded, opening a ribbon of energy that traced through the forest floor to a cluster of sealed sigils deeper underground, a binding created by her former alpha. Her breath hitched. She staggered. Elias steadied her, concern shading his features. "This isn't just a curse," he said softly. "It's a blood bond meant to contain you." Fear erupted. Her body trembled with the weight of betrayal. The sigil in her palm pulsed, glowing in response. Mira realized her lineage had been used against her as a vessel of corruption. Tears pricked her eyes. "I'm not just broken, I'm trapped." Elias bent and pressed his forehead to hers. "Not while I'm here," he vowed. Energy crackled between them, not forced, but earned. "We'll forge new bonds in place of the old." Their pulse synced. Magic flickered overhead as leaves whispered their approval. Moonlight glowed faintly through the canopy, an unspoken seal of choice over inherited fate. In that moment, Mira felt the kiss of destiny, unbidden, undeniable, and wholly her own. No longer passive, no longer afraid. She nodded, voice steady. "Then I choose healing over hatred." Lightning raked the sky overhead as they stood between ancient stone and rising sun. Two hearts bound by choice, fate, and fierce love. The abandoned subway tunnels under the city felt like ancient arteries, cold, concrete walls, jutting with dripping moss and graffiti-scarred remnants of a forgotten world. Mira's heart pounded with each echoing footstep. She walked beside Elias, arm linked to his, every nerve alight. When the first hooded figure lunged, a shadow crackling with dark energy, Elias deflected his weapon with fierce precision. Rainwater dripped from the ceiling into puddles that shattered as Mira's boots connected with the stone floor. Her palm flared, the binding sigil scorching again, and she felt the surge of ancestral power. She gasped as the attacker reeled, momentarily overridden by her healing glow. Elias caught her shoulder, steadying her. The brush of his touch, warm, insistent, sent adrenaline through her veins, stronger than any lust or fear. His breath, deep, controlled, held both promise and reassurance. "You're safe," he murmured. His scent, smoke, and fresh earth enveloped her, calming her internal storm. She shook, tears blurring her vision. "I don't know how much control I have." "You choose how much," he replied, voice resolute. Every step. Their eyes locked, and she felt pheromones stirring, the alpha pull of Elias over her. More assailants erupted from the tunnels. Rogue-bound humans twisted an oath to her ex-alpha's dark magic. Elias and Mira moved as one. He fighting, she healing. Where blood fell, Mira's touch cleansed, rebinding rupture in flesh and soul. An attacker grabbed her hair, spun her around. But Elias roared, slash of claws and strength. His instinct arrested Mira's fall, his body shield over hers in predatory grace. The attackers collapsed, freed of their enchantment, eyes wide in terror before they slipped into unconscious silence. The final attacker, a figure cloaked in deep indigo robes, raised a hand crackling with binding energy. Mira's sigil flared, bright as moonlight. Elias stepped forward, blocking the threat. "You don't have to sacrifice," he said, voice low but firm. "Let me protect you, for real." Mira hesitated, pain and longing colliding. Her wolf whimpered, protection more than possession. She nodded. "Then we fight together," she said, placing her hand in his free one. Together, they unleashed a surge, a fusion of Elias's alpha dominance and Mira's omega healing. Magic flared in spectral hues across the subway, light and shadow entwined. Attackers collapsed reverently. Bonds of darkness splintered. The tunnels fell silent. Elias brushed soot from her cheek. Sweat and rain mixing with anticipation and power. They breathed hard, victorious, terrified, bonded. Dusk settled over the ancient forest ruins. Amber lanterns suspended from twisted branches, casting long shadows across moss-covered stone. Mira and Elias stood before a half-circle of pack elders and political emissaries, forest pack, city pack, and mountain clans, each watching her with wariness and awe. Mira's heart raced as the wind stirred her cloak. The binding sigil on her palm throbbed quietly, a reminder of power and peril. As talks opened, Elias stood guard at her side, his presence both shield and anchor. Men with cold eyes and poised knives circled. The emissaries murmured about omega rights, bloodline resurgence, and threats from unseen puppeteers. When one mountain alpha gestured in Mira's direction, Elias tensed. His wolf growled low. She smelled treachery, metallic and warm, an urge to protect and a longing to bond. Mira inhaled deeply. Across the circle, a beta diplomat caught her eye. Beneath his neutral tone, understanding flickered. Elias shifted closer, their senses entangled. Pheromone pull, emotional gravity, fear and fierceness converging. She whispered, "Something's wrong." He nodded, "Stay calm. Our bond is truth." A deafening crack split the air as magical wards across the ruins shattered. Someone had attacked the summit. Enchanted molten ash rained down, scorching banners and sending emissaries scattering in panic. Chaos erupted. Pack representatives stormed toward exits, lanterns shattered, rituals disrupted. Mira caught sight of a masked figure fleeing through vines, dark energy trailing behind. Elias shielded Mira with strength born of instinct and choice, his alpha aura flaring. Mira's wolf roared in unison with his. Her palm glowed silver and wound magical healing roots through charred ground, sealing ruptures. The ash melted under her breath. As enemies converged again, Mira stepped forward, luminous, defiant. "Stop," her voice rang, carried by inheritance and authority. Pheromones pulsed outward. The attackers froze, torn between instinct and obedience. Mira reached for Elias's hand, voice unbroken. The treaty is broken, but so is their hold over us. We rise together, stronger than fear. When Mira returned, ambassadors stood trembling. Some lowered their heads in grudging respect. Others fled into the night. Elias pulled Mira away, steadying her trembling form. This attack was political, he said quietly. You're not just a healer or weapon. They fear who you could become. Mira pressed the sigil on her palm. The burn eased by dawn's cooling air. I don't know if I'm ready for this, she whispered. Elias tucked her fingers into his cloak. His eyes, silver by moonlight, burned with promise. You never have to lead alone. A hush fell over the mountain as Mira followed Elias into a hidden chamber beneath skeletal pines and crumbling stone. The air was heavy with the scent of old magic and salted earth. Torches flickered along lined tunnels, casting long, distorted shadows. Every breath felt sacred and profane, pregnant with wreck. Elias's grip on her hand steadied her, grounding her wolf as ancestry symbols pulsed beneath their feet. They entered a vast grotto, walls etched with shifting runes that glowed like embers. At its center lay an altar, a blood-spattered relic pulsing with a dark hum. Mira's sigil throbbed violently in response. It's your binding, Elias whispered. A corruption placed long ago to divide and control your power. Tears stung Mira's eyes. Why would it be so cruel? He pressed a hand to her cheek, gentle but firm. Because destiny means little to those craving power. His scent, earth, rain, unyielding strength washed across her senses, igniting longing tempered with fierceness. Mira clutched her palm. Rage and fear pressed hot through her veins. So I've carried their fault all this time? Elias bowed his head. The ritual marked you, stolen agency disguised as duty. Her wolf whimpered in rage. She jerked free, stamping at stones. Elias stepped forward beneath a shaft of flickering torchlight. Gravity pooled in his voice. You are not bound unless you let them. They met above the altar. Mist curled around their feet. He cupped her face. The heat between them was holy. Mira reached for Elias's hand. With a click, runes flared overhead. The binding shattered. White light erupted from her sigil, ascending the altar and dissolving shadows. Truth echoed in silver flame. Elias knelt beside her, guiding her palm to calm the destructive pulse. You unravel it by choice, he said. Power from pain is bondage. Power by purpose is freedom. When the light faded, only relic dust remained. Mira stood trembling. Fear subsided, replaced by awe. She felt stronger, human and wild again, her own bond reforged. Elias bowed slightly, eyes full of storm and promise. This changes everything, she whispered. My past, our pact, even what I might become. He lifted her chin. We'll face what comes, together. The morning forest was brittle with frost, sunlight slicing through skeletal branches. Mira's skin still bore the burn scars of the binding ritual, but her soul felt lighter than it had in years. Elias guided her through the clearing to their hidden cottage beneath mossed pines, its doors scarred from the previous night's storm. Inside, the air smelled of pine resin and healing salve. She collapsed into soft pillows, trembling. Elias knelt beside her, voice low and steady. You're safe now. Let me patch you up. Pain and relief swirled in her chest. When she met his gaze, strong, silent reassurance, her lips trembled. As Elias cleaned the scar on her palm, Mira's heart thundered. Memories of betrayal, magic, and closeness wove into a haze of longing and fear. "It still hurts," she whispered, fingers curling into his sleeve. He laid his palm over hers. "You endured worse, and you survived." The scent between them, earth, sweat, sacred longing, filled the room. She closed her eyes, letting tear-blurred trust anchor her. That night, Mira saw ruins of her former life in her dream. An altar aflame, voices raised in betrayal. Darkness hung low until Elias appeared, silver waywards pulsing through his veins as he reached for her. In the dream, she shed her old self with a whispered plea. "Protect me." Elias responded with ancient power, shielding her. She woke with his arms wrapped tight. He bent to kiss her temple. "You're not broken. You're mine." Her wolf ached. The distant heat of her secondary gender throbbed faintly. The sun rose, filtering through frost-laced windows. Expecting urgency, Elias instead made tea, her favorite herbs glowing faintly in the morning light. "You have a choice," he said, voice gentle. "The path ahead will ask you to rise, to use your power for more than survival. You can step forward or step away." Mira sipped. She felt the warmth burn into her chest. Mercy or vengeance? Purpose or destruction? Just as she finished, a tremor shook the cottage. Outside, wolves cried. Elias braced the door. "They're coming." Through the frost-broken glass flashed black robes, tendrils of ash magic swirling around them. Mira grabbed Elias's arm. She inhaled deeply. Smell sharpened. Omega in full bloom. The scent glands on her wrists thrumming. The air pulsed with pheromonal command. Elias stiffened beside her. With clarity born of ancestral blood, Mira whispered, "I choose us. Peace made by power." She stepped into the clearing. Ash cap attackers recoiled, some whimpering, some standing in stunned submission. Her palm glowed silver. Vines erupted from frost-laden earth, tearing shadows from the intruders. Elias emerged, claws extended but controlled. Protection without domination. Together they forged a shield of compassion and dominance that felled their foes without violence. In the hush that followed, Elias knelt before her. "You led us," he breathed, pride and reverence in his tone. Winter sprites drifted through shattered pine as dawn broke. Mira held Elias's hand, scar throbbing, spirit full. She drew his face close to hers until her forehead rested against his. "I'll walk forward if you walk with me." He smiled, tucking a strand of hair from her face. "Always." Nightfall covered the ruins in velvet darkness, lit only by pale moonlight and flickering torches. Mira and Elias stood at the heart of a cavernous clearing, ringed by crumbled columns carved with ancestral runes. Arya, now toddling, her silver eyes bright, sat between a firestone cradle and her mother, both flanked by unwavering guards. Her heart raced. This was the moment of reckoning. Pack delegates had gathered, weapons draped against ceremonial banners, all awaiting a showdown. Elias tightened the woven cup of his hand around Mira's. "We stand together," he whispered. "Whatever comes, you needn't face it alone." Mira shivered at his scent. Smoke, earth, decisiveness. Her wolf recognized his alpha strength and respected it. Their shared pheromones pulsed, bond solidifying into power. From the shattered gates echoed savage growls and the crackle of corrupted magic. A tide of malformed wolves, led by Nissa and her corrupted envoys, surged forward, beasts twisted with dark oath, eyes glowing green with malicious power. Wind whistled through ruined stone. Torches flared higher. Anticipation tightened the air. Mira inhaled deeply. Fear, anger, duty. She felt heat rising, her omega scent releasing in waves of command and fear. Elias shifted, claws gleaming under torchlight. "Defensive postures," he roared, his voice carrying across the clearing. As the corrupted wolf army advanced, Elias morphed, fur rippling. Bones crackling, alpha dominance unleashed. At the same moment, Mira lifted her arms, palms glowing silver. Light cascaded outward, not destructive, but purifying. They moved as one, Alpha Strike, Omega Cleanse. Wolves fell or knelt under her healing waves. Elias inhibited further aggression with precision. Around them, pack allies rallied. Forest, city, mountain clans unified against corruption. Nissa and her dark mage raised arcane symbols at the center. Wind roared. The world bent with magic. Elias charged, catching Nissa mid-leap with bone-breaking impact. Mira stepped forward, voice calm but seismic. "Your corruption ends now." She pressed a hand to the mage's chest. Silver light engulfed him. Magic evaporated. Amid gasps, Elias knelt beside Mira, breathing hard. Arya toddled into Mira's arms. Mira's gaze met Elias's, uncertain, proud, forever changed. When silence fell, Mira spoke over murmurs and shifting guards. "Today proves our strength isn't built on domination, but on choice and unity." The assembled pack representatives bowed. Some trembled with remorse. Others knelt in respect. Elias's gaze flickered over the crowd, shared sovereignty acknowledged. He swept a hand gently across Mira's cheek. "You were more than ready." Mira stared at her scarred palm, sigil gone, only faint light pulsing, her healed legacy. She exhaled and placed one hand on Elias's chest and the other around their daughter. "We've won a battle," she said quietly, "but tomorrow we build peace." A silver dawn lit Nightfall Fortress's soaring spires and rune-carved walls. Snow crunched underfoot, but warmth glowed in every chamber, hope born from battle. Mira stood on the terrace with Elias beside her. Arya in her arms. The heavy air smelled of cedar and fresh snow. Mira's eyes swept over gathered pack representatives, the forest, city, and mountain clans, bows sincere this time. Their submission wasn't fear alone, but respect. She drew a soft breath. "This is our dawn." Elias's fingers curved around hers. "Your dawn." She looked at Elias, silver fire flickering in his gaze. Their journey, betrayal, exile, binding, redemption, had brought them here. She inhaled deeply, scent thick with omega clarity, mingled with his alpha strength. "I was broken," she began, voice trembling but fierce. "You helped me choose differently. I chose you." He cupped Arya's cheek, golden infant eyes glimmering with inheritance. "Our legacy begins here." In the throne room, torches flickered against midnight stone. banners draped down from vaulted ceilings. At center, a new throne, obsidian carved with silver Luna runes, awaited. Elias lifted Mira into it. Kneeling beside as the assembled pack by blood and choice, I accept the crown of Moon Mother Luna, protector of our lineage, mother of true Luna heirs. The air hummed, runes pulsed. Elias bowed his head and spoke. Alpha of this empire, bonded in trust and power. Together, we rule together. Silence fell. Faces bowed. Nods of loyalty filled the room. Mira turned to Elias, voice warm with triumph. We did this, together. He looked up proud and soft. We did it. Her smile blended gratitude, love, and unbreakable strength. Tiny Arya reached out, fingers curled around Elias's gloved hand. Mira leaned into his warmth. Our family, she whispered. He pressed his forehead to hers. Forever our empire. The snow glistened. The fortress roared in silent magic. Below, the silent pack bowed in reverence. Around them, a new era began. One of compassion tempered by power, choice guided by loyalty, and love fortified by purpose. Mira placed Arya near a flame-lit lantern carved with ancient Luna insignia. The silver glow danced in their eyes. Destiny renewed. Empire forged. Love claimed. Future begun. If you enjoyed listening this story, please hit the like button. Share it with someone who'd love this. And subscribe. And ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Leave a comment below. You know I love hearing from you.